Cav Cop here. In this video, I want to take you on like a walkthrough through some of my vehicles and show you some of the things that I keep in them for preparedness and everything. Then we'll go inside and we'll discuss the very first first aid kit I got in the military back in 1989-90. This is what we ended up having. Fast forward to around 2003, 2004, and they came out with the individual first aid kit, the IFAK. And we'll go over these two inside a little bit and talk about them. Hopefully this will give you an idea of something that you may want to put into your vehicles, especially if you end up owning firearms. The risks and odds of you using your firearm are probably a lot less than the risks and odds of you needing to use some type of first aid kit, whether it's on someone else or on yourself. In the military, this little first aid kit that we used to carry was for the individual soldier to use on themselves, not on others. The IFAK is kind of the same way, but in reality, when it's combat, you'll use your own kit on your buddy to save their life if you need to, because it's easily accessible for you. But that's a decision that you have to make. Out on the street, you may have to use your own kit on yourself. Most likely, you may end up coming across something where you need to use your kit on someone else and help save their life. Now, I'll take you through a little tour of my vehicles. All right, if we go over my truck, I like to have a wool blanket. I also have a pair of jumper cables, moving blanket, and a little step stool there. One thing I did do is I modified the back of the seat rest here so that you can pull it. It gives you a little bit of space to store stuff. I guess 7 Sparta is the one that made this little modification latch. And then underneath here is where I keep a extra towel, some sweatpants, underwear, and socks, just in case something comes up and I need that. Also have a little kit underneath there. All right, if we come around on this side, there is a factory pull latch for access to your tools and stuff like that. There is a little bit of room, like a little shelf and some stuff you can put stuff in, and you do have a little bit of access to store and fit some things. You can use your imagination back there. It's not a lot of room. And then underneath here, I keep a little poncho, some 550 cord, and then let me get this little blue thing off. First aid kit that's on the left side, I guess, over there, or on the right side is the first aid kit. The middle green one is another first aid kit, more for gunshot wounds and stuff like that, and then a little survival kit on the left. But I basically have this set up in most of my vehicles. And I also keep a mag light. It'll fit on either side. I just happen to have it on this side right now. But it actually clips in here pretty well and stays placed. Perfect size to hold a mag light. Doesn't really bounce around when I'm driving. Limited stuff in my glove box. I've got some handkerchiefs, or bandanas. You can do all kinds of things with bandanas. Headlight, little wrench to do stuff, earplugs, some gloves, extra mask, just little things that I may need. In the center console, I keep stuff in there. And then on my Jeep, my little weekend warrior vehicle, I keep a bunch of spare stuff in here as well. Similar first aid kit for boo-boo owies, a pillow, don't judge me, extra fire extinguisher, a light for the back of here because it doesn't come with a light, so added that on. Also have a Russian e-tool that's mounted on a fishbone off-roading shovel type thing. Keep an extra tow strap back here in case you have to tow someone. Again, a gunshot wound kit, and then like a little survival kit. Do have another fire extinguisher there, and I won't get too much into it, but underneath here, if you lift the flap, there is storage, and I keep some extra bandanas, jumper cables, some shackles, and another set of gloves and stuff in there. All right, and over here I keep another mag light. This one was clipped to the seat using a fishbone off-road clip that holds on to stuff in there. Again, I'm not going to go over the center console on this or the glove box, but I keep some extra stuff in there. But there's enough stuff I keep in here that hopefully if anything does come up, then I'm able to deal with it. Going over the aid kit stuff, like I said, in my vehicle I carry a bunch of stuff, and I'll do some videos on those. Today I want to go over some of the basic first aid things. When I first joined the military, we had these little pouches here that contained first aid dressing, and basically it's called a Carlisle bandage. And in the 1920s, it was designed kind of similar to, I guess, maybe like a maxi pad with your strapping and wrapping already on it. and in 1940s it got upgraded a little bit, and right after the Korean War, they came out what they called the 1956 kit, and it included the LCE, the load carrying equipment, and this is called the 56 M56 pouch, designed to hold a compass and aid dressing. So this was the pouch that a lot of people wore. It was part of the Alice kit and everything. But it came with this little pouch here, and inside usually it has a paper wrap thing. This is an old one that I had. We'll open it up and take a look at it. A little harder to get out than I thought. But basically it's wrapped like this. The old ones, post-Korean War, even I guess around World War II period, all came wrapped like this. Some of them came in a cardboard box and everything. But this is basically how you end up getting it. We'd always do a thing where you grab and twist to break it free. And it's ultimately a camouflage bandage, they call it. And you'd grab it by the ends. The inside part would be sterile. And then you just kind of ended up popping it open so that you could put it on the wound, basically holding it by the ends. And inside the gauze expands, and you end up getting kind of like a 4x7 type gauze. And that would basically be put on the wound. And then you take the ends and wrap it around. They'd always tell you in the military, make sure that the white ends on the edges were completely wrapped. So you didn't want to have any white showing, part of the military standards that they did for people and everything. But like I said, these were used forever. When I first came in 1990, they used them. Vietnam, they used them. And even up until right before the Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, these were pretty much what every soldier had. They'd have one on their upper left of their LCE that they'd wear on their suspenders, and all the soldiers had them. Fast forward to around 2000 or so, and a U.S.-Israeli guy went over to Israel doing some computer stuff and everything, and he ended up discovering what ended up becoming the Israeli bandage. And the Israeli bandage and a whole lot of stuff went into the modern kit, and they call it an individual first aid kit, or an IFAK. And I'll open this up and show you some of the stuff in here, but the Israeli bandage was really a game changer. Initially around 1999, 2000, kind of got introduced in the United States, didn't really catch on that well. Some medics in the Ranger Regiment picked it up, and the Rangers started using it. And once it caught on with the Rangers, then all of a sudden the SEALs, Delta, Special Operations started getting it. And now just about every person in the military gets the Israeli bandage, which I'll go over here in a second, and go over the inside of the IFAK. Alright, so this is the pouch I actually used in Iraq. Probably last time I used it was probably 2008. The only thing that's missing in here, I guess, is going to be some lubrication for the nasopharyngeal tube thing. But inside the individual first aid kit, the pouch contains a lot of neat stuff. It also had a cutter that came with it, but it's separate. It's not part of the kit here, but it's an additional item that kind of went with the first aid kit. But inside it kind of came with some stuff. In the back of here for Iraq, we added chitosan dressing. Basically, if you have somebody that has heavy bleeding or something like that, HempCon has chitosan, or like a shrimp product type thing, I guess, that helps stop bleeding and clotting. For a while, these are the way to go. Then they went to some quick clot stuff that burned people, and they moved on to that, to some newer stuff that's a little bit cooler and doesn't have as much of an effect. But this is what I had in Iraq. And then inside the kit, which you can pull out, it's bungee corded, so you're not going to lose it. One of the first things they have on the outside here is going to be your cat tourniquet. Most people nowadays all know what a cat tourniquet is. Prior to 2001, probably not a lot of people messed or used these. I think now they come pre-set up. Back in the day, we had to open them up and get them set up and everything. But just a basic tourniquet. I'll probably go more into these in some other videos and stuff. But they're pretty decent. They cost a little bit of money. I'd stay away from the knockoffs on Amazon. If you're going to get one, get it from a medical supply place, or maybe get lucky Army surplus store has them, or you get a friend in the military you can get it from. When you open up the kit, it'll come with a nasal tube. If you got an injury or something like that and you weren't able to breathe too well or anything, they have a nasal tube. Normally you'd measure it from like your ear line to your jaw to make sure that it's the right size. Most adults all use the same size, so in the military, pretty much one size fits all. You do need to put a little bit of lubrication on it, and then you want to be careful with the beveled end, and then stick it down someone's nose if they're having trouble breathing, whether it's from a head injury or something like that. Came with a pair of gloves. A lot of times if you're working around blood and stuff like that, you want to make sure you have some gloves on so you don't contaminate yourself and others. Keep a semi-sterile area even though you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere, the desert combat stuff. We have a gauze bandage, which if you open up this gauze bandage, it'll be almost like the combat bandage other than there's no padding in it. So all it is gauze. You can use it to wrap wounds and seal stuff up. Use it a little bit if you need to do some covering or something like that for an open wound, but a basic gauze bandage. Got the Israeli bandage. This one right here is 6-inch. Most of the military ones are a 6-inch bandage. They do make a 4-inch. I don't know if they make any other sizes, but the 4-inch and the 6-inch are the popular ones people use. And this right here is just a wound seal, Tegaderm dressing. Basically, if you're going to prep someone for an IV or something, we had some IV prep kits, but that's part of a separate thing. And then you got a little bit of medical tape that came with it. This might have been a slightly bigger one. I don't know if this is the one that actually came with it or not. I might have put a bigger one in later. But this is the basic individual first aid kit. A lot of people that have firearms today, they're going to build their own personal kits, usually around the IFAK, or maybe they have friends that they can get the IFAK from. And just go over the Israeli dressing here real quick. Comes sealed. Normally it's going to be airtight. This one here is a little bit of opening. There's a little notch end on it, so if you need to open it, it's a little easier. Pull it out. You got the secondary thing on here. It tells you other side to the wound. So this side right here is going to be the side that goes towards the wound. And we'll get this right here open. All right, so if we get this open, you know the other side goes to the wound. So you open it up. It's designed to be used basically one-handed, so you can kind of apply it to yourself if you need be. But it comes out this side. Open it up similar to the other one, and then you basically put it on the wound. And here you have a little bit larger dressing, probably more like a 5x7 or 5x8. But you'll apply it, or 6-inch dressing, I guess, so it's going to be at least 6 inches by probably 8 or 9 inches. But you're going to apply it down onto where the wound is, and it's made out of like a bungee strap. It's kind of flexible, and then you'll just basically start going around and wrapping your wound as you need to. And then when you get finished, you can pull it in kind of tight into this little tab here, and this tab's basically like a pressure bar. Run around here. And the pressure bar helps you apply pressure if you need to apply pressure depending on the circumstance. You can use it as a regular bandage, you can use it as a pressure dressing, or you can end up using it as a tourniquet. And what this little pressure bar right here does is it allows you, once you get it so tight, if you want to come back around on it and go in the opposite direction, it pushes it down and allows pressure. And on the same token, if you need to twist it and make it tighter, you can use this as kind of like an improvised tourniquet, although a regular tourniquet is normally preferred. But the little Israeli dressing is a game changer. In Vietnam, I think it was like 4 out of every 10 soldiers or more were dying in combat, and in Iraq, there's about 1 out of 10 that ended up dying from basically bleeding out. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to treat individuals or even a group if there's a group that's injured, but you can treat them in the middle of combat. A person can do self-aid to themselves, or once they get them to a safer place, they can apply it, versus back in the day, they try and strap a little bandage on them and then send them to the rear to get medical help. So these are a really good thing to have, especially if you have firearms. It really adds to the safety for yourself and for others in case something does end up happening. But for those not familiar with the Israeli bandage, this is basically it. This little pressure bar helps with applying pressure and everything as you tie it off. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. A little bit of a learning thing. Maybe some people haven't opened up these things and seen what they look like or knew the names and things that they were. But like I said, the Carlisle dressing, most people in the military I knew didn't know that it was called the Carlisle dressing. And then the Israeli bandage, everybody pretty much knows where it was developed. But if you like videos like this, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't downloaded Rumble, go ahead and download Rumble. In my next videos, I'll try and do some stuff on the other pouches that I showed you and everything that I keep in my vehicle. Take care. Cav Cop out.